SWB audio capture, not registered. SWB audio capture, not registered. SWB not registered. SWB audio capture, not registered.
Sadharma Pundarika, or The Lotus of the True Law, Chapter 1, Introductory. Thus have I heard. Once the world was on the Gridyakuta mountain with a numerous assemblage of monks, 1,200 monks in all of them arhats, free from depravity, self-controlled, thoroughly emancipated in thought and knowledge, having done their duty, reached the goal, in whom the ties which bound them to existence were wholly destroyed, who had reached the utmost perfection in subduing their thoughts. These were eminent disciples such as the Venerable Shariputra, the Venerable Subhuti, and the Venerable Rahula. With them were yet other great disciples, such as the Venerable Ananda, still under training. Also present were 6,000 nuns, having at their head Mahaprajapati and the nun Yasodhara, the mother of Rahula.
SWB audio
Further,
capture,
there
not
were
registered.
80,000 bodhisattvas, all endowed with perfect enlightenment, firmly standing in wisdom, who rolled forward the never-deviating wheel of the law, who, under many hundreds of thousands of Buddhas, had planted roots of goodness, were fully penetrated with the feeling of charity, and were capable in communicating the wisdom of the Tathagatas. These bodhisattvas were renowned in many thousands of worlds, having saved myriad sentient beings. Included were the bodhisattvas Manjusri, Avalokiteshvara, Mahastama Pramta, and Maitreya. Now, at that time, the world-honored one, surrounded, attended, honored, revered, venerated, and worshipped by the four groups of hearers, after expounding the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, a text serving to instruct bodhisattvas and proper to all Buddhas, sat cross-legged on the seat of the law and entered upon the meditation termed the Station of Innumerable Meanings. His body was motionless, and his mind had reached perfect tranquility. As the world-honored one entered upon his meditation, there fell a great rain of divine flowers.
They have been dispatched
covering
by
the world-honored one and the four groups of hearers, while the whole Buddha field shook. Then did those who were assembled and sitting together in that congregation, monks, nuns, male and female lay devotees, as well as gods, nagas, goblins, gandharvas, demons, garudas, kanaras,
SWB audio
great
capture,
serpents,
not
men
registered.
and beings not human, as well as governors of a region, rulers of armies, and rulers of 4 continents, all of them with their followers, gaze on the world-honored one in astonishment, in amazement, in ecstasy. And at that moment there issued a ray from within the circle of hair between the eyebrows of the world-honored one. It extended over 1,800,000 Buddha fields, so that all those Buddha fields appeared wholly illuminated by its radiance. And the beings in any of the 6 states of existence became visible, all without exception. Likewise, The world-honored ones, staying, living, and existing in those Buddha fields, became all visible, and the law preached by them could be entirely heard by all beings. And the bodhisattvas in those Buddha fields, who plied the bodhisattva course with ability, due to their earnest belief in numerous and various lessons and the fundamental ideas, they too all became visible. And the stupas made of jewels and containing the relics of extinct Buddhas all became visible in those Buddha fields. Then rose in the mind of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya this thought: "Oh, how great a wonder does the Tathagata display! What may be the cause? What the reason of the world-honored one producing so great a wonder as this? Such astonishing, prodigious, inconceivable, powerful miracles now appear, although the world-honored one is absorbed in meditation. Why, let me inquire about this matter. Who would be able here to explain it to me?" He then thought, "Here is Manjusri, who has plied his office under formal Tathagatas and planted the roots of goodness while worshipping many Buddhas. This Manjusri must have witnessed before such signs of the former Tathagatas, those perfectly enlightened Buddhas. Of yore, he must have enjoyed the grand conversations on the law. Therefore, I will inquire about this matter with Manjusri." And the four groups of the audience, monks, nuns, male and female lay devotees, numerous gods, nagas, goblins, gandharvas, demons, garudas, kimnaras, great serpents, men and beings not human, on seeing the magnificence of this great miracle of the world-honored one, were struck with astonishment, amazement, curiosity, and they thought, "Let us inquire why this magnificent miracle has been produced by the great powerful Lord." At the same moment, at that very instant, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya knew in his mind the thoughts arising in the minds of the four groups of hearers, and he spoke to Manjusri. "What, O Manjusri, is the cause? What is the reason of this wonderful, prodigious, miraculous shine having been produced by the world-honored one? Look how these 18,000 Buddha fields appear, variegated, extremely beautiful, superintended by Tathagatas." Then it was that Maitreya, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, addressed Manjusri in the following stanzas. "Why, Manjusri, does this ray darted shine forth, and why this abundant rain of flowers? I see also many bodhisattvas living in the forest, and others inhabiting the empty wilderness, engaged in reciting and reading. And some bodhisattvas I see, full of wisdom, betake themselves to mountain caves, where by cultivating and meditating on the Buddha knowledge, they arrive at its perception. Others, who have renounced all sensual desires by purifying their own self, have cleared their sphere and obtained the 5 transcendent faculties. Some are standing firm, the feet put together and the hands joined in token of respect toward leaders. Some, thoughtful, meek, and tranquil, who have mastered the niceties of the course of duty, question the highest of men about the law and retain in their memory what they have learned. And I see here and there some sons and daughters of the principal Buddha who, after completely developing their own self, are preaching the law to many hundreds of thousands of living beings with many myriads of illustrations and reasons. Joyfully they proclaim the law, rousing many bodhisattvas. They strike the drum of the law. Others are saving creatures in the hells by emitting radiance and rouse them to enlightenment. There are some sons and daughters of the Buddha who dwell in the forest, abiding in vigor, completely renouncing sloth, and actively engaged in walking. It is by energy that they are striving for supreme enlightenment. Others complete their course by keeping a constant purity and an unbroken morality, like precious stones and jewels. By morality do these strive for supreme enlightenment. Further, I see bodhisattvas who have forsaken all wanton pleasures, shun unwise companions, and delight in being with genteel men
SWB
and
audio
women.
capture, not registered.
Then there are bodhisattvas who, with avoidance of any distraction of thoughts and with attentive mind, have meditated for years in the caves. These strive for enlightenment by dint of meditation. Some again offer in the presence of Buddhas and the assemblage of disciples gifts consisting of food and drink, medicines. Others offer in presence of the Buddhas and the assemblage of disciples clothes. They bestow in presence of the Buddhas hundreds of thousands of monasteries which they have caused to be built of precious substances, and which are furnished with numerous couches. Some present the leaders and their disciples with neat and lovely gardens, abounding with fruits and beautiful flowers, to serve as places of daily recreation. When they have, with joyful feelings, made such various and splendid donations, they rouse their energies in order to obtain enlightenment. These are those who try to reach supreme enlightenment by means of charitableness. There are also sons and daughters of the Buddha who try to reach enlightenment by wisdom. They understand the law of emptiness, unattached, like birds in the sky. Further, I see many bodhisattvas who are worshipping the relics of the Buddhas. I see thousands of stupas, numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, which have been raised by these sons and daughters of the Buddhas, and now adorn thousands of grounds. Those magnificent stupas, made of 7 precious substances, measure in height to no less than 5,000 yojanas and 2,000 in circumference.
SWB
Such
audio
honor do
capture,
the sons
not
and daughters of the
registered.
Buddhas render to the relics of the Buddhas, so that all directions of space are brightened. From this spot I behold all this, those numerous thousands of creatures, both in this world and heaven, covered with flowers, owing to the single ray shot forth by the Buddha. Oh, how powerful is the leader of men! How extensive and bright is his knowledge, that a single beam darted by him over the world renders visible so many thousands of fields. We are astonished at seeing this sign and this wonder so great, so incomprehensible. Explain me the matter, O Manjusri. The sons and daughters of the Buddha are anxious to know it. The 4 groups of the congregation in joyful expectation gaze on thee, O hero, and on me. Gladden their hearts, remove their doubts, grant a revelation, O son of the Buddha. Why is it that the Buddha has now emitted such a light? It must be for some purpose that this great ray has been emitted. Is the world-honored one to show the primordial laws which he, the highest, discovered on the terrace of enlightenment? Or is he to prophesy the bodhisattvas their future destiny? There must be a weighty reason why so many thousands of fields have been rendered visible, variegated, splendid, and shining with gems, while Buddhas of infinite sight are appearing. Men, gods, goblins, and titans, the 4 groups of the congregation are eagerly awaiting what answer Manjusri shall give in explanation. Whereupon Manjusri,
SWB audio
the Prince
capture,
Royal,
not registered.
addressed Maitreya, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the whole assembly of bodhisattvas in these words. It is the intention of the Tathagata to begin a grand discourse for the teaching of the law, to pour the great rain of the law, to make resound the great drum of the law, to to raise the great banner of the law, to kindle the great torch of the law, to blow the great trumpet of the law, and to strike the great timbrel of the law. Again, it is the intention of the Tathagata to make a grand exposition of the law this very day. I have witnessed a similar sign of the former Tathagatas, the perfectly enlightened. Those former Tathagatas, they too emitted a lustrous ray, and I am convinced that the Tathagata is about to deliver a grand discourse for the teaching of the law and make his grand speech on the law everywhere heard. And because the Tathagata wishes that this Dharma be heard everywhere, therefore does he display so great a miracle, this foretoken of consisting in the luster occasioned by the emission of a ray. I remember the days of yore, many immeasurable, inconceivable, immense, infinite, countless eons ago. There was born a Tathagata called Chandra Surya Pradipa, a Sugata, a knower of the world, a teacher, a Buddha. He showed the law. He revealed the duteous course, which is holy at its commencement, holy in its middle,
audio
and
capture,
holy
not
at
registered.
the end. Good in substance and form, complete and perfect, correct and pure. That is to say, to the disciples he preached the law containing the Four Noble Truths, the chain of causes and effects, finally leading to nirvana. And to the bodhisattvas he preached the law connected with the six perfections, and terminating in the attainment of supreme perfect enlightenment. It was at that time, Maitreya, that the world-honored one, Chandra Surya Pradipa, the Tathagata, after expounding the Dharma called the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, a text of great extension serving to instruct bodhisattvas and proper to all Buddhas, at the same moment and instant, at the same gathering of the classes of groups, sat cross-legged on the same seat of the law and entered upon the meditation termed the Station of Innumerable Meanings. His body was motionless, and his mind had reached perfect meditation. And as soon as the world-honored one had entered upon meditation, there fell a great rain of divine flowers, covering the Lord and the four classes of hearers, while the whole Buddha field shook in 6 ways. At that moment there issued a ray from within the circle of hair between the eyebrows of the world-honored one. It extended over 1,800,000 Buddha fields, so that all those Buddha fields appeared wholly illuminated by its radiance, just like the Buddha fields do now, O Maitreya. At that juncture, Maitreya, there were 20 kotis of bodhisattvas following the Lord. All hearers of the law in that assembly, on seeing how the world was illuminated by the luster of that ray, felt astonishment, amazement, ecstasy, and curiosity.
SWP audio capture, not registered.
Now it happened, Maitreya, that there was a bodhisattva called Varaprabha who had 800 pupils. It was to this bodhisattva Varaprabha that the Lord, on rising from his meditation, revealed the Dharma called the Lotus of the True Law. He spoke during fully 60 intermediate kalpas, always sitting on the same seat, with immovable body and tranquil mind. And the whole assembly continued sitting on the same seats, listening to the preaching of the Lord for 6 intermediate kalpas, there being not a single creature in that assembly who felt fatigue of body or mind. As the Lord Chandra Surya Pradipa, the Tathagata, during 60 intermediate kalpas, had been expounding the Dharma called the Lotus of the True Law, a text of great development, serving to instruct bodhisattvas and proper to all Buddhas, he instantly announced his complete nirvana to the world, saying, "Today, O monks, this night, in the middle watch, will the Tathagata, by entering the element of absolute nirvana, become wholly extinct." Thereafter, that very night, at that very watch, the world-honored one Khandra Surya Pratadipa, the Tathagata, became extinct by entering the element of absolute nirvana, and the aforementioned Dharma, termed the lotus of the true law, was kept in memory by the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Varaprabha. During 80 intermediate kalpas did the Bodhisattva Varaprabha keep and reveal the commandment of the world-honored one who had entered nirvana. Perhaps, Maitreya, you feel some doubt, perplexity, or misgiving that in those days, at that time, there was another Bodhisattva Mahasattva Varaprabha, preacher of the law. But do not think so. Why? Because it is I myself who in those days, at that time, was the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Varaprabha, the world-honored one, the supreme king of the Sakyas, the all-seeing, who knows the highest truth, is about to pronounce the excellent sutra which I have heard before. That very sign displayed at present is a proof of the skillfulness of the leader. The line of the Sakyas is to make an exhortation, to declare the fixed nature of the law. Be well prepared and well-minded. Join your hands. He who is affectionate and merciful to the world is going to speak. He is going to pour the endless rain of the law and refresh those who are waiting for enlightenment. And if some should feel doubt, uncertainty, or misgiving in any respect, then the wise one shall remove it. For the Bodhisattvas here, striving after enlightenment. The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million eons is difficult to encounter. Now that I have come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. The Sutra of the Lotus Flower of the Wonderful Law, Chapter 2, Tactfulness. At that time, the world-honored one, rising quietly and clearly from contemplation, addressed Sariputra. The wisdom of Buddhas is very profound and infinite. Their wisdom school is difficult to understand and difficult to enter. The Buddhas have been in fellowship with countless 100,000 myriad kotis of Buddhas, perfectly practicing the infinite law of all Buddhas, boldly and zealously advancing and making their fame universally known, perfecting the very profound, unprecedented law, and preaching, as opportunity served, its meaning so difficult to understand. Sariputra, ever since I became Buddha, with various reasonings and various parables, I have widely discoursed and taught, and by countless tactful methods have led living beings, causing them to leave all attachments. Wherefore? Because the Tathagata is altogether perfect in his tactfulness and paramita of wisdom. Sariputra, the wisdom of the Tathagata is broad and great, profound and far-reaching. His mind is infinite.
SWB audio
His
capture
expositions
not
are
registered.
unrepeated. His powers, his fearlessness, his meditations, his emancipations, his contemplations, have enabled him to enter into the boundless realms and to accomplish all the unprecedented law. Sariputra, the Tathagata is able to discriminate everything, preaching the laws skillfully, using gentle words, and cheering the hearts of all. Sariputra, essentially speaking, the Buddha has altogether fulfilled the infinite, boundless, unprecedented law. Enough, Sariputra, there is no need to say more. Wherefore? Because the law which the Buddha has perfected is the chief unprecedented law, and difficult to understand. Only a Buddha, together with a Buddha, can fathom the reality of all existence. That is to say, all existence has such a form, such a nature, such an embodiment, such a potency, such a function, such a primary cause, such a secondary cause, such an effect, such a recompense, and such a complete fundamental whole. At that time, the world-honored one, desiring to proclaim this teaching over again, spoke thus in verse. Immeasurable are the world's heroes, embracing gods and men in the world. Among all the living creatures, none can know the Buddhas. The Buddha's powers and fearlessness, emancipations and contemplations, and the Buddha's other laws, no one is able to measure. Of yore, I followed countless Buddhas, and perfectly trod the right ways of the profound and wonderful law.
SWB audio capture, not
After
registered.
pursuing all those ways, having obtained the perfect fruit on the wisdom throne, I was able to perfectly understand such great effects as these, the meaning of every nature and form. I and other Buddhas in the universe alone can understand these things. This law is unexpressible. It is beyond the realm of terms. Among all the other living beings, none can apprehend it except the bodhisattvas who are firm in the power of faith. Again I say to Sariputra, the faultless and inscrutable, profound and mysterious law I now have wholly attained. Only I know these truths, as also do the Buddhas of the universe. Know, Sariputra, the words of Buddhas do not differ. In the laws preached by the Buddha, you should beget great strength of faith. After the Buddha's preparatory teaching, he must now proclaim the perfect truth. The Buddha employs tactful powers. All beings have various attachments. He leads them to obtain escape. Then Sariputra said to the Buddha, World-honored one, please explain it. Please explain it. In this present assembly, there are, equal with me, hundreds of thousands of myriads of kotis who, in former lives, have followed the Buddha and been transformed by him. Such men and women as these can certainly believe respectfully, and throughout the night will peacefully rest, and in various ways be abundantly benefited. Then Sariputra, desiring
SWB
to
audio
announce this
capture,
meeting over
not
again, spoke
registered.
thus in verse. Most high and honored of the living, be pleased to explain the paramount law. In this assembly, countless beings are able respectfully to believe this law. The Buddha already, in his former lives, has taught such living beings. All with one mind, folding their hands, desire to hear the Buddha's words. Be pleased, for the sake of these beings, to condescend to explain it discriminatively. At that time, the world-honored one addressed Sariputra. Since you have already thrice earnestly repeated your request, how can I refuse to speak? Do you now listen attentively to, ponder, and remember it. I will discriminate and explain it for you. The Buddha addressed Sariputra. Such a wonderful law as this is only preached by the Buddha Tathagatas on rare occasions, such as the Undambara flower is seen but once in long periods. Sariputra, believe me, all of you, in the Buddha's teaching, no word is false. Sariputra, the meaning of the laws which the Buddhas expound as opportunity serves is difficult to understand. Wherefore? Because I expound the laws by numberless tactful ways and with various reasonings and parabolic expressions. These laws cannot be understood by powers of thought or discrimination. Wherefore? Because the Buddhas, the world-honored ones, only on account of the one very great cause appear in the world. Sariputra, why do I say that the Buddhas,
SWB audio
ones,
capture,
only on
not
account
registered.
of the one very great cause appear in the world? Because the Buddhas, the world-honored ones, desire to cause all living beings to open their eyes to the Buddha knowledge so that they may gain the pure mind. Therefore, they appear in the world. Because they desire to show all living beings the Buddha knowledge, they appear in the world. Because they desire to cause all living beings to apprehend the Buddha knowledge, they appear in the world. Because they desire to cause all living beings to enter the way of the Buddha knowledge, they appear in the world. Sariputra, this is why it is only on account of the one very great cause that Buddhas appear in the world. The Buddha addressed Sariputra. The Buddha Tathagatas teach only bodhisattvas. Whatever they do is always for one purpose, that is, to take the Buddha knowledge and reveal it to all living beings. Sariputra, the Tathagata, by means of the one Buddha vehicle, preaches to all living beings the law. There is no other vehicle, neither a second nor a third. The laws of all the Buddhas in the universe are also like this, Sariputra. The Buddhas in times past, by infinite, numberless, tactful ways, and with various reasonings and parabolic expressions, expounded the law for the sake of all living beings. All these laws are for the one Buddha vehicle, so that all those living beings who have heard the law from the Buddhas might all finally obtain perfect knowledge. Sariputra, the Buddhas, the world-honored ones,
SWB audio capture, not registered.
Myriad kotis of Buddha lands in the universe, who are so greatly benefiting and rejoicing all living beings, these Buddhas, by infinite numberless tactful ways and with various reasonings and parabolic expressions, also expound the laws for the sake of living beings. All these laws are for the one Buddha vehicle, so that all those living beings who hear the law from the Buddhas finally obtain perfect knowledge. Sariputra, all these Buddhas teach only bodhisattvas, desiring to show all living beings the Buddha knowledge, desiring to cause all living beings to apprehend the Buddha knowledge, and desiring to cause all living beings to enter the way of the Buddha knowledge. Sariputra, I, at the present time, am also like them. Knowing that all living beings have many kinds of desires deeply attached in their minds, I have, according to their capacity, expounded the laws by various reasonings, parabolic expressions, and tactful powers. Sariputra, such teachings are all in order to secure perfect knowledge of the one Buddha vehicle. Sariputra, in the whole universe, there are not even two vehicles, how much less a third. You should, with all your heart, believe and discern, receive and keep the word of the Buddha. No word of the Buddha Tathagatas is false. There is no other vehicle, but only the one Buddha vehicle. At that time, the World-Honored One, desiring to proclaim this teaching over again, spoke thus.
SWB audio capture, not registered.
Listen carefully to the laws obtained by the Buddhas, which, by infinite tactful powers, they expound for all creatures. What they all entertain in their minds, all the ways they practice, how many kinds are their desires, and their former karmas, good and evil, the Buddha knows all these perfectly. With various reasonings and parables, terms, and tactful powers, he causes them all to rejoice. There are sons and daughters of the Buddha whose minds are pure, who are gentle and clever-natured, and who, in innumerable Buddha regions, have walked the profound and mystic way. On behalf of these sons and daughters of the Buddha, I preach this great vehicle sutra, and I predict that such men and women as these, in the world to come, will accomplish the Buddha way. Through their deep-hearted mindfulness of the Buddha and observance of the pure commandments, these, hearing that they may become Buddhas, are filled throughout with great joy. The Buddha knows their mind and conduct, and therefore preaches to them the great vehicle. In the Buddha lands of the universe, there is only the one vehicle law. Neither a second nor a third, except by the tactful teaching of the Buddha. But by provisional expressions, he has led all living creatures, revealing the Buddha wisdom. In the appearing of Buddhas in the world, only this one is the real fact. The Buddha himself abides in the great vehicle, in accordance with the law he has attained, enriched with powers of meditation and wisdom, and by it he saves all creatures.
SWB audio capture, not registered.
The supreme way, the great vehicle, the universal law. If I convert by a smaller vehicle even but one human being, I shall fall into grudging, a thing that cannot be. If men and women turn in faith to the Buddha, the Tathagata will not deceive them, for he has no covetous and envious desires, and is free from all the sins of the laws. So the Buddha in the universe is the one being perfectly fearless, and I am worshipped by countless multitudes, for whom I preach the seal of reality. Know, Sariputra, of yore I made a vow, wishing to cause all creatures to rank equally without difference with me. According to the vow I made of old, now all has been perfectly fulfilled, for converting all living beings and leading them to enter the Buddha way. Whenever I meet any creatures, I teach them all by the Buddha way. When a son or daughter of the Buddha has fulfilled his or her course, in a world to come, he or she becomes a Buddha. Only by my powers of tactfulness do I manifest the three-vehicle law. For all the world-honored ones expound the one vehicle way. Now let all in this great assembly be free from doubts and perplexities. The Buddhas do not differ in their statements. There is one only and no second vehicle. In the past countless kalpas, innumerable extinct Buddhas, in hundreds, thousands, and millions, whose numbers cannot be counted, all such world-honored ones as these, with various reasonings and parables, and innumerable tactful powers, have proclaimed the various
SWB audio capture,
but all
not
of
registered.
the ones proclaim the one vehicle law, converting numberless creatures to enter the Buddha way. Moreover, the great holy masters, knowing that which all the worlds of gods, men, and other creatures deeply desire in their hearts, in addition, by varying tactfulness, assist in revealing the first principles. If there are any beings who have met the former Buddhas, if, having heard the law, they have given donations, if they have kept the commandments and have been persevering, been assiduous, meditative, and wise, having kept these various ways of happiness and virtue, Such beings as these have all attained the Buddha way. After the extinction of Buddhas, men and women with good and soft minds for the truth, such living beings as these have all attained the Buddha way. After the extinction of Buddhas, those who worship their relics and built many kotis of sorts of stupas with gold, silver, and crystal, with moonstone and agate, with jasper and lapis lazuli, clearly and broadly decorated, handsomely displayed on every stupa, or those who built stone shrines of sandalwood and aloes, eaglewood and other woods, of brick, tiles, and clay, or those who in the wilds raised earth for Buddha's shrines, even children in their play who gathered sand for a Buddha stupa. All such beings as these have attained the Buddha way. If men or women, for the sake of Buddhas, have erected images carved with the characteristic signs, they have all attained the Buddha way. Or those who, with the precious seven, with brass, red and white copper, with wax, lead,
SWB
tin,
audio
with
capture
iron,
not registered.
wood, and clay, or with glue and lacquer, have adorned and made Buddha's images. All such ones as these have attained the Buddha way. Those who have painted Buddha's images with the 100 blessing-adorned signs, whether done by themselves or by employing others, have all attained the Buddha way. All such ones as these, gradually accumulating merit and perfecting hearts of great pity, have attained the Buddha way. Indeed, by influencing the bodhisattvas, have saved countless creatures. If men or women to the stupas and shrines, to the precious images and paintings, with flowers, incense, flags, and umbrellas, have paid homage with respectful hearts, or employed others to perform music, beat drums, blow horns and conchs, panpipes and flutes, play flutes, harps, guitars, gongs, and cymbals, such mystic sounds as these, all played by way of homage, or with joyful hearts by singing have extolled the merits of Buddhas, even though in but a low voice, these too have attained the Buddha way. Even anyone who, with distracted mind, with but a single flower, has paid homage to the painted images, shall gradually see countless Buddhas. Or those who have offered worship, were it merely by folding the hands, or even raising a hand, or by slightly bending the head, by thus paying homage to the images, gradually see innumerable Buddhas, and attain the supreme way, extensively saving countless creatures, and enter the formless nirvana, as when firewood is finished, the fire dies out.
SWB audio capture
If any,
not
even
registered.
with distracted mind, enter a stupa or temple, and cry but once, Nama Buddha, they have attained the Buddha way. If any from the Buddhas of the past, whether in existence or already extinct, have heard this law, they have all attained the Buddha way. All the future world-honored ones, infinite in their number, all those Tathagatas also by tactful ways preach the law. All of the Tathagatas by infinite tactful ways save all creatures to enter the Buddha's faultless wisdom. Of those who hear the law, not one fails to become a Buddha. This is the original vow of the Buddhas. By the Buddha way which I walk, I desire universally to cause all creatures to attain the same way along with me. Though the Buddhas in future ages proclaim hundreds, thousands, kotis, countless schools of doctrine, in reality they are but the one vehicle. The Buddhas, the honored ones, know that nothing has an independent existence, and that Buddha seeds spring from a cause, so they reveal the one vehicle. All things abide in their fixed order, hence the world abides forever. Having apprehended this on the wisdom throne, the leaders proclaim it in tactful ways. Whom gods and men pay homage to, the present Buddhas in the universe, whose number is as the sands of the Ganges, and who appear in the world for the relief of all creatures, these also proclaim such a law as this.
SWB audio capture, not registered.
Though by reason of their tactful powers, they display various kinds of ways, really they are but the one Buddha vehicle. Knowing the conduct of all creatures, what they entertain in their deepest minds, the karma they have developed in the past, their inclinations and zeal, and their capacities, keen or dull, with various kinds of reasonings, parables, and narrations, as they could respond, so have they tactfully taught. Now I also, in like manner, for the relief of all creatures, by various kinds of doctrine, promulgate the Buddha way. I, by my power of wisdom, knowing the natures and inclinations of creatures, tactfully proclaim the laws which cause all to obtain gladness. The reason why the Tathagata appears is for preaching the Buddha wisdom. Now is the very time. Now I am glad and fearless. In the midst of the Bodhisattvas, I frankly put aside tactfulness and only proclaim the supreme way. You Bodhisattvas hearing this law, having got rid of the nets of doubts, will all become Buddhas. In the same fashion that the Buddhas, past, present, and future, preach the law, so also will I now proclaim the undivided law. The appearing of Buddhas in the world is far apart and of rare occurrence. And when they do appear in the world, with equal rareness do they proclaim this law. Even in infinite countless kalpas, rarely may this law be heard.
SWB audio capture, not registered.
Have no further doubts. Rejoice greatly in your hearts, knowing that you will become